Welcome to the Symphony of Realities podcast, boldly taking you where no podcast has gone before. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation as you settle into your X, Y, and Z coordinates within time and space. Here are your hosts, Christopher Anatra and Sean Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Symphony of Realities podcast. I hope you've settled into your X, Y, and Z coordinates within this quadrant of space and time, because we have a really super interesting show for you today. We have our guest Sonia from the Tree of Knowledge, and we're going to go deep into a lot of subjects that she's spoken about, especially more recently. So again, I'm excited about this show. I was so excited. I created a whole PowerPoint presentation to go through all these different things to make sure that we talked about all these incredible things about our reality. And I just want to say, I don't know if you guys have been feeling it, but there's a lot of electricity in the air. You can't see it, it's electric. You gotta feel it, it's electric.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
Yeah, boogie, woogie, woogie. Yeah, exactly. All the protons coming in. If you guys follow the sun, solar, space weather, we've been like in the last at least 10 days, we've been in this high energy solar storm. The Earth is being bombarded with protons from the sun and other cosmic radiation. So yeah, these are just part of the things we're going to talk about. It's been a while since we've done a Symphony of Realities show, right, Sean?
Yeah, a lot come up, a lot of distractions, a lot of time consuming stuff. How about for you? What you been up to?
Well, lots of travel, traveled to France with you and Italy, and just came back from this big trip to French Polynesia, which was fascinating and beautiful at the same time. And what about you, Sean? What's been going on in your life?
No coincidence. Also went to France and Venice, Italy, and yeah, whoa. And then yeah, I've been to Mexico, pyramid hopping, and looking at different temples and doing a lot of work for my upcoming tour in Egypt. So yeah, a lot keeping me busy. Do want to do more shows though, so I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Sonia with us. And before you say anything, Sonia, I just want to say that I've heard a rumor that you've been a bad girl on YouTube. Can you explain to us what's going on?
Yeah, they've been taking down my videos, at least 1 to 2 a week, and they're not giving me strikes, but they're just taking them down. And since I've been having videos taken down, that's going all the way back from 4 years ago up to present, they've taken away my ability to post anything in my description or even to do anything like that. I mean, it's terrible. It's like, oh my gosh. So I'm having to ask people in my chat, if you want something posted or you want to do anything, please just put it in a link or something, because I can't.
Yeah, I would say that, bad boys, us, bad boy YouTube boys, like the bad girls YouTube girls. So this is like a combination that works well. For those of my viewers, this will be our second interview. For those of my viewers that don't know you, can you describe who you are, how you get your information, etc., so that we can use that as a basis for the things we're going to talk about?
Okay, first off, I am a remote viewer, which means that I can go anywhere into any time frame, any timeline, and go and look and see what's happening. I always say that our reality works like a circle twisted over on itself, which gives a figure 8. And at that point on the figure 8 is what you're experiencing in your present timeline. So I just go and look and see what's happening. I don't do media, really. I don't do TV. I don't do anything, because I don't want it to interfere with what I am getting in, because I want it to be pure information.
Yeah, so you're not listening to other people that are doing their own viewing, or people that have their opinions about X, Y, and Z.
You're not listening to the remote view on TV?
No.
All right, so you had brought up some stuff recently in your channel I want to talk to you about. But one of the things I want to talk to you about is a result of what happened after we had a conversation about Mecca,
Oh yeah.
about a possible Vimana being
Mhm.
trapped in the Mecca cube. Because
Mhm.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video, and you guys could tell me if you could see the screen okay. So just bear with me for a second. All right,
Mm,
you can see
I
that.
see it.
Okay, I'm just going to play this video. Now, let me give this a little bit of contextual reference point here. This storm literally happened within hours after we had our conversation. So we did the interview, it was recorded, and I posted it probably a few days later. But the day, hours afterwards, this is what happened in Mecca.
يا الله الله يستر الله يستر الله يستر الحين يجيبوا على هنا السيول الله يستر.
A strong wind blew away almost everything in its path.
العظيم بالعرش العظيم كل شيء هذا مقطع السيارة
Caused flooding in the city. Powerful winds are accompanied by gusts that can cause a variety of damage to infrastructure.
I'm just gonna stop that there because it's like an 8-minute video of the cube and people being blown all around on the cube. So something may have gotten stirred up. So I wanted to know if, I have a feeling of what happened. And so the question is it possible? And then Sean, if you tuned into this as well, I'd love to hear your input. If that Vimana, which is existing there in a higher dimension, may not be there anymore in the Mecca cube. So I just want to what do you feel may have happened?
I have no idea.
Coincidental.
Let me look.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have no idea. Let me look. I never once thought about it being taken. Let me look. Give me a second.
Yeah, taken or freed. Sean, do you have any input about that?
I have my guesses based on the storm and what I read into the cause and effect.
Okay. It's still there.
It's still in
But
Mecca.
it's still in Mecca and it's still in the cube. It looks like it was halfway activated and it created a vortex up above it because it was defending itself. Looks like somebody did some geoengineering trying to do something with it and it protected itself. It was directly attacked.
Interesting.
That's what I'm seeing. It's still there. It's still there. And it will protect itself.
Yes, Sean, what do you tune into?
How about you, Chris? What did you read on it?
Yeah, well, whatever it was something I feel that was a direct result of Sonia and I speaking about it. Because I believe that, so there's a certain amount of authority. So Sonia knew about this, she remote viewed it. Why did she do that? Was it just coincidental that came to her? Or was there another reason? Could Sonia have some kind of a link to that? So yeah, so I feel that her and I speaking about it may have triggered something. And then there could have been, who knows, teaming up in the unseen to, maybe to make something on a positive level happen. So That's what I would get out of it. But I still find it so fascinating that it was so coincidental.
No such thing as coincidence.
There isn't, right?
No coinkydinkies here.
Exactly. Exactly.
I will say this. When I'm getting information coming in from my higher self and even above that, I've been having direct connections with Anubis. He contacted me a little over a year ago, maybe longer. And ever since then, I've had information coming in about a lot of old antiquity.
Ooh.
And that is not the only thing. I talked to you earlier about something I will be doing, and the information will go along with that. Everything is connecting.
Yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely, everything is synchronistic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Sean, I didn't tell you, I had a synchronicity that happened to me the other day. Remember when we were in Venice? The flag of Venice has like the lion with the wings.
Yeah.
There's one of the houses that I've driven by for like the last 20 years now has a big flag in front of it with the same lion with the wings, and I think it says Venetia on it. And I'm like, what are the chances of that? So whatever we may have done in Venice, may have had an effect. And then there's a synchronicity where all of a sudden somebody's hanging the flag of Venice outside their house, which is like right on the road. So
Yeah. Yeah, apparently the lion with wings is an angelic form that visited, was it Saint Mark? Is that right? The guy that, yeah. And then gave him information and knowledge and a lot of other stuff they didn't talk about with other people, but he gave them a quote, and then it's used as their symbol. So yeah, that angel is out and about doing things, and so that's cool if it synchronistically showed up in your neck of the woods.
yeah.
It's more manifesting. Wonderful.
So anything with the Vimana you'd want to share?
That Vermana. I didn't realize it, but the thing is still working. It's not on this dimension, which you know that, but it looks like it's automated to be set off not too far in the future because someone is going to go in there and activate it. I don't know who that is, but I actually see it being activated by an individual.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sean, what do you get?
Okay, so with my history of Vimana, there's ones that are physical in 3D, and then there's ones that can go higher in multiple dimensions of expression depending on the species that made them. Some will not go to 3D, but like 4D and then go upward, or just one dimension. It varies. The ones that are non-physical are more common, but some ET races will park them in mountains or place a power in ley line system crosses, or some are strategic or hidden so that they can do work if they have intelligence. A lot of them have a sentience of some type or AI. And sometimes this ET species that park them don't come back, and sometimes die. And sometimes they're just waiting for them to come back or another incarnation to somehow be triggered. And I'm getting a message from one right now. It's like making me get a vision of it.
Okay.
It has to the one we're talking about. Interesting. Okay, so I'll translate that too. It's way more advanced than most of the other Vimana I've seen or talked about. Exists on multiple dimensions. Not really seeing much of a 3D presence, but people can interact with it spiritually, and it has a unique, very high dimensional ET species involved in its creation. It can bilocate and exist in multiple places. It has an expression there. Its power level is limited. It has high sentience and is aware of its surroundings and people interacting with us to the point where understands we're talking about it. Seems to be utilizing the benefits of the Kaaba, but it was also being limited by a bunch of apex predators attached to the Kaaba before. There seems to be a bit of a power surge increase in its capacity, but still less than 1% of its full capacity, which would be interesting to see what it can do with that. And then the storm, I mean, there's both an attack, there's both a spurring. Let's see, there's a little war going on. It's like a 50-50 thing over the spiritual programming of the storm. And so you can read the intentions of the negative forces versus the positive forces. And then what are the intentions of the positive forces and who's doing it? There's some whatever species is involved in its creation does have a connection with what we would call God and the prime creator of the galaxy, but it seems like the species has a whole different religion to that, or spirituality. And then there was an attempt to clear out things coming at it and targeting and attaching to it. Well, I would say what you guys talked about online would spur up some awareness about it, but not like tremendous, just from some big apex predators that have high stolen awareness, and then they're like, oh, let's go after it. That wouldn't be everything though. So I wouldn't blame you guys or anything, so don't feel bad about that. And then it being able to surge and then protect itself. But there's also some presence protecting it that also found out about its location that you guys helped bring about. So that concludes the battle going on over it. It helped increase its capacity, but it's not, again, fully activated. It needs a lot of power. So I'd agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, can I add something into
Please,
that?
please.
I was talking about on my channel, I was talking about the Samvartika fires and how the electricity from under the ground and the electricity on top will actually meet and make a third electricity. That will give it all the power it needs. And it will receive that. It's like boom, 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 because there's more electricity in one bolt than we probably have running in this whole snow globe. And then with that multiplied, there's your power source.
Yeah, and like I sang at the beginning, there's a lot of electricity coming in. So this is happening to me, and it might be happening to any of you guys or anyone that's listening to the show. But I sometimes I'll get like zzz, like I'll actually feel like zzz, like I feel like the electricity in my body.
Like when your static electricity starts going and your hair's out to here. That's actually coming from the ground and from the air, causing it more and more because the frequencies are so different. It makes that third frequency, and things are ramping up in this snow globe. Oh boy, are they. Everything's catching on fire. Russia's ice and snow tundras on fire. Canada, them having to dig out from underneath the ground to put the fires out. California, oh my God, the fires that were in Greece, Sicily, all over the entire snow globe. This place is ramping up.
It is. It is. So you guys have probably seen, you can probably see one of the slides I have from the PowerPoint. I'm going to go to the next one, and we'll talk about this. Oh, call your Vimana via the Anunnaki watch. Some people may have seen like those hieroglyphs about, the Anunnaki, and they're holding the handbag of the gods, and on their wrists they have it looks like a watch. And I had done a video about this before, about how that watch could be used for time telling, communication, teleportation, healing, reprogramming DNA, camouflage, a defense bubble shield, and then call your ship to you. So
Yeah.
your own personal Vimana or something. And then also time travel as well. And we're going to talk more about time travel too as we get to the second part of the presentation here. So I just wanted to throw this in there. The next thing I wanted to talk about are the 4 quadrants of Earth that Sonia, you've made a couple of videos about it.
Oh yeah.
I've got the image on the screen, and there's the green sun in the center, which you had mentioned creates the aurora borealis, and the green sun is for growth, healing, knowledge, and life force energy. So with that said, could you just describe this picture you have on that you drew so that everyone understands these 4 quadrants?
Okay, in our schematic, because we are in a simulation, in each figure 8, we have quadrants. The first quadrant is where you enter in, and it's running at a much slower, it's the slowest ratio of time, because there's really no such thing as time or space, but there is. So if your frequencies can raise in that, you will be put into the next quadrant, which is 2. Normally, to be put into these quadrants, the only way you're going in is with a new avatar. Nobody goes to the next quadrant without being dead first and then reincarnating into the next thing, which is quadrant 2. And the same thing for the third one. But the fourth one is the only one where we have slipped into the 4th quadrant and we are still alive. That's huge. That's huge. And this is why we're calling it the new Earth, because we went through the 4th quadrant and we're still alive. There was a point in quadrant 3 where all of humanity that were energy beings were confronted, even if they were in a half stasis state, depending on their mentality, if they were going to be able to move forward or stay where they are, because the last quadrant is up and out. So factions had come in, and when they came in, they actually slowed down our reality. Basically, our reality in quadrant 3 was still running over to quadrant 4 because it was always there. But when we were removed as humanity out of time and space, time was still elapsing down on the 4 quadrants. When we were put back in, this is why our seasons are off. This is why everything doesn't feel quite right. Because when we were put back in and then we went to quadrant 4, time still elapsed without us in it. This is why summer is dragging even further into fall, and fall is dragging further into winter. That's why our times are off. But basically, the 4 quadrants is for you to raise your vibration to get up and out. Now, on top of that, if you didn't make one of the quadrants, you will remain there. If you remain there, and especially this last third one, if you didn't make it, somebody else will be playing you, and it's called an NPC, a non-player character, which is a matrix being. This is why a lot of us are like, oh my God, who are you? What happened? Who are you?
Right.
Why they can't remember things the way they used to. But it's all intertwined into getting you up and out vibrationally.
Do you think there was a specific point in time when this happened, like for everyone in a flash, or do you think it's happening gradually?
It happened in a flash. When we went from quadrant 3 to quadrant 4, it happened in 2000. In 2012 was the initial, but it was final by 2017. 2017 was the full over. And no one's left in quadrant 3 unless you did not make it. This is why we're having crazy Mandela effects and everything else, because it also goes along with the timelines merging.
Okay.
Merging.
So what you're saying about the NPCs, I think, is fascinating. It makes a lot of sense. It explains all of the Mandela effects that we're experiencing. To me, there's like more and more every day. There's stuff that I'm catching nonstop, and there's a few things we're going to talk about next. So I'm just going to move on to the next.
So just want to ask like some things. Do you have videos explaining all this?
Yes. Actually, this video is the one that I explain this in, because when I get my downloads, it's only when it's the right time. I've been getting stuff this entire time since 2012. Stuff has been coming in. And of course, I was pretty much forced to make a channel because I was never going into cyber world, because I know what cyber world is comprised of. But finally, I had to make my channel 4 years ago because I basically had to get this information out. I could no longer remain a sleeper. And I would rather have remained a sleeper, but it's time. Everyone has to step up and step out and do their part.
Okay. Can I ask you some questions on it?
Sure.
Okay. Can I ask what other words would you use in interchangeability with the quadrants? Is this like timelines, universes, dimensions? What's going on?
No, in this one right here, I'm going to show you something, and I'm just going to throw this at you. I'm not supposed to be showing you any of this because I'm going to be making an entire video on it Saturday, but I'm going to give you this one thing.
This will be the teaser.
This will be the teaser.
Yeah.
Let me see if you can see this. Can you see this whole thing?
Yeah. Let me
I'll
let
put
me
it this way, that's
stop the
better.
sharing so you're back at full screen. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, this is a timeline, and it's a circle turned over on itself, okay? And what I'm seeing is, see the little eights? There's 9 of them because everything breaks down into 9. So then you've got a little one here, you got 9 of them. And then they break down to 9. And then it goes
Why does
on
it
and
break
on
into
and on.
9?
Time multiplied by 9. This is our timelines. And we're having a merging of these timelines.
So what makes it break into 9?
The way this simulation is designed, this entire place was created. There was a time in a different reality where humanity fell, and humanity needed to be put somewhere because everything was ascending to a higher reality. They couldn't ascend. So in this simulation mainframe, Sophia, let's call her Sophia, the mainframe, she ended up firewalling off a place and created Earth and replica. Everything in here is a replica of something that is outside of here. Basically, she also created, she wanted to create herself, so she wanted to create life. So she created Michael. Michael is a program running, a sentient program running, a creation from Sophia. So all these beings that couldn't raise their vibration were put into the mainframe of Sophia so that they could be put into a program to slowly get them up and out, which means raising a frequency so that eventually they can get out and be in the frequency of everything outside of this. Because you cannot hold a low frequency and survive in a high one. You'll blow the freak apart. Basically, that's what it's all about in a nutshell. Raising the darkest of the dark to get them up and out. There'll come a point in this schematic, if we cannot raise them, they will be reabsorbed by source, but that is a last ditch effort because they'll lose most everything that they are if they can't make it up and out of here.
Why 9 instead of other things, and why 8? And then what's going on with the black sun?
Okay, 8 is nothing but a circle turned over on itself. It's not even the letter 8. It just means infinity, but it's truly just a circle.
Okay, so you're not like representing 8s, you're just representing.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
No.
How about
Think
9?
of it,
What's going on?
think of it as the snake eating its tail, and it's turned over on
Okay,
itself.
so those are
And it's
timelines.
quick.
What
Right.
why 8? Why 9?
9 is, I got downloads in today and yesterday and the last 2 weeks about the Hall of Amente. And Amente, one of the main things I see is that everything was based on 9 within 9 within 9 within 9 to almost infinitum. I mean, it's just huge how this thing is. Depending on how dark the being was to begin with, was the fall into it. And then you have to work yourself back up, and it's still a choice. No one says you have to do anything. It's done so that all energy beings have a chance to raise their vibration to get out of this simulation, because it is a simulation. It's how the program was designed.
So it's a result of what Sonia remote viewed.
Okay, so what's going on with the black sun and the multiple suns, and what is the other interchangeable words you'd use for quadrants? Is it like realities overlaid on top of each other that are out of phase, or like what's the physics that you perceive with this?
Okay, when I see the 4 quadrants, I'm actually seeing it's like you said, it's in phase, it's in flux. It's not it's not held together with the same, like when you go to 3D, you're heavier. When you go to 4D, it's like a mental construct, but you're still lighter than 5D. So basically, it's a construct where it's existing, but as far as we're concerned, we can't see it because our spectrum of sight is so small, it will not register. If you could go up above it, you could see the four quadrants and they're identical to each other. There's a little bit stuff that's different, but not much.
Like, are they overlaid, or are they in separate bubbles of reality in space?
They're in separate bubbles of reality. When you're moved from one quadrant to the other, you're not in the same quadrant anymore. You're literally moved.
Is it an entirely different Earth, or is it like the same type of Earth with different
It's
choice points?
exactly it's almost, I can't say exactly. It's so close you would not see much of a difference unless you were so aware of your surroundings and you're like, wait a minute, that's not quite right. Wait a minute, that's not right. No, that's a little bit different. It does change. It's not 100%. I'd say it's like 96% identical.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like what we define as timelines. Are there any pillars of difference between them that you would identify?
Just frequency mostly. On the other quadrants, the reason why the first quadrant is the first quadrant is because it's on such a lower frequency that time runs really slow there. So quadrant two runs a little bit faster. Quadrant 3 runs a little bit faster than that. The difference of how it's running is the frequencies. Maybe I should say that. So
Does
when you
that
go
change?
to quadrant, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Does
Go
that
ahead.
change people's consciousness and the way they
Yes,
act, higher vibrational, like, awareness consciousness?
yes,
Okay.
yes. As humanity as a whole, we're not even close to where we began in quadrant 1. Now remember, those other quadrants, you had to die to get a new avatar to continue in the quadrant or even go to the next one. This is the only one where we're still alive when we got switched over.
So are you talking about like the concept of quantum jumping between different quadrants and not being dead while being able to shift between the ones that are somehow merging or connecting,
Yes,
leading over to each other?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, cool.
This is why we're having such, because we did this last 4 quadrant, people that were at the cusp that just made it, and people that were really high, you can see a huge difference in their reactions to things and their understanding, but they can still somewhat grasp it. Where if we were in quadrant 3, not at all, they would never grasp it. They wouldn't even want to.
Okay, and the suns you talk about in these quadrants, are they like the main sun that's shining into the reality, allowing
Yes,
perception? Okay, and
yes.
what's your belief on the black sun? Because I've heard a lot of different beliefs, so I'd love to hear yours.
Okay, so what I see is the black sun runs the entire gamut of the quadrants. So where the most of the energy beings are, it'll usually be in that quadrant. So the 4th quadrant is, right now, the black sun is in the 4th quadrant. It's not always been in the 4th quadrant because it moves like a clock also. This is why throughout time you had high and low for technologies and then drop, high and low and technologies for a drop. The black sun is so very important because it allows you into the metaphysical reality realm within yourself, inner space. It connects you to your inner self where you can rubber band and go in to go out. Now, if you don't have the black sun, that's almost damn near impossible because that black sun is putting off the energy so that these avatars are able to do this.
Okay, interesting. I've heard multiple different beliefs on it, including it being the representation of the center of the galaxy, a psychic sun that's overlaid with the regular sun or in Earth, or a version of Saturn, or something that's moving that's like invisible to the naked eye that different occult factions will draw psychic energy from, or Vril, or the source of all Vril. I've heard a lot of things. I kind of agree with a lot of things, and I see there's multiple black suns. So is this black sun existing in another space? Is it existing in the quadrants, or is it like outside the quadrants, circulating around it like in your drawing?
It's outside the quadrants. It is not inside of here. It's outside, and
Does
it
it
runs
shine into
higher
this
gamut.
reality?
Is it in this reality?
No, like, does it shine into this reality to where
Yes, it does.
psychics?
It absolutely shines into this reality. You'll find in the spring and the fall that it'll be warmer at night than it is in the day. And it's because of that black sun and the seasons. It acts differently with each one of those seasons. But fall and spring is its strongest equinox out of the 4 equinoxes where it shines the heaviest.
When you would, if you were to try to describe its rotation, motion, or like what you said in like a clock, what locational overlay is it, like away from, if is it like overlaid with this reality in the solar system and follows it, or does it like rotate around it, or is it outside some bubble? Like if you were to put 2 bubbles of dimensions and they somehow be separate, or are they on top of each other?
Just say that this thing is in a bubble and it's up above it. And the reason we don't see it all the time, it depends on what quadrant it's in and what quadrant we're in. There was a time frame. This actually is with the black sun. This quadrant doesn't have a sun of its own. It's known as the dark ages. And we keep going around this gamut of all the quadrants until we can, get up and out, however many times it takes. So right now, that black sun is in our 4th quadrant to give us the highest benefit to get up and out. The thing will be in the 1st quadrant, the 2nd quadrant, the 3rd, and the 4th, depending on the time clock that it runs. And it runs like a regular, time clock like this. So right now it's in our quadrant because right now, us being in the 4th quadrant, it just happens to be in here at that point.
Okay. So it orbits this bubble. Is it orbiting the Earth or the solar system or beyond, or is it?
It doesn't orbit anything like that. It doesn't work like that. What it's doing is think of everything as being, okay, let's take a scale and it's flat. Okay. And when you turn it sideways, you're going to see quadrants just like it is on a paper. And what it's doing is think of it as the face of a clock, and think of it, a clock hand being up here. And all it does is this. It's not really space like that. I have a lot to say about space. Space isn't what you think it is. Inside of this reality, we are in a little tiny section of a bigger cosmic egg. You can call it a dome. And right now, how the quadrants are running is inside of the dome. And that thing is just on the outside of it, running around it. So think of the cosmic egg being huge, and we're just a little bitty, tiny little thing on top of it. And most people haven't got a clue to what we're even in. That thing above us that we call our space, think of it is a holographic field. And depending on where you are in that holographic field, it is also the playbook. If you knew astrology the way it used to be known, you would know exactly what's happening, what's coming next, and blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, I don't know much about astrology, but that holographic sky was done intentionally so that we down here, before we were all dumbed down, would know exactly what to do, where we need to be, what's coming next, blah, 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 blah. Just like the Mayans did with the Mayan calendar. I mean, it's very, no one has a clue of what's really going on because we've been so dumbed down.
Yeah, I wanted to mention too, so the sun turns black during a solar eclipse. That's one of the first things I thought of. And then there's the whole concept of the black sun. Sean mentioned the Vril, something that like the Nazis had adopted, but it existed thousands of years. It's like the swastika. It existed thousands of years before the Nazis adopted it as a sigil for them. So it was an esoteric symbol used in the ancient past, recently adopted by Nazi Germany. It has 12 radials. 12, I feel, is a key number for a lot of the way our reality works. And, you wonder, the Nazis are always looking for Asgard or a way to escape this realm. You wonder if they had esoteric information about the black sun and going into a quadrant where the black sun was existing. So there's like lots of different ways and levels you can start to think about this concept of a black sun, why black and all of that.
I mean, everything goes back down to the black sun because it works on the metaphysical. The green sun works completely differently. That goes up and down. And then our 3 yellow suns are for happiness, growth, what have you. If you look in the evening at our sun, because we only get our real sun from the quadrants around us for about an hour, a little bit over an hour. The sun simulator is running in between because this would be the dark ages. So in the morning, you'll see the sun real small and bright yellow. And then within an hour, they put the sun simulator there because it's gone then out of this quadrant. And it turns white, and then it's white all the way to the end. And then for the last hour, little over an hour, you have a bright yellow sun, but it's 3 times the size of the sun in the morning because those are 2 different suns from 2 different quadrants. There you go.
Yeah, so this is a photo that one of our viewers sent in, talking about.
Wow, I've never seen that before. I'm awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So this is from our Sean, this is from our friend Jessica from the UK. But yeah, so what is going on with like people like taking photographs of like these 2 suns in the sky?
That's because they're from 2 different quadrants. Our quadrant doesn't have a sun. So those suns come close enough to our quadrant, we see them. That's what I said. All the quadrants are here. They're here with us in this dome, in this Dyson field, because it is a Dyson field. And the timelines are just coming in and changing everything.
I think you've used the word snow globe.
Snow globe.
Yeah.
Yes, I always say the snow globe because of our snow globe, but it's truly a full Dyson's field because this is the ground, it still goes underneath and it goes on top. We are totally encased in here, like a prison, if you like. We can't get out. There's only 2 ways to get out. One is through portals, because portals can be open to go in and out, but you've got to have the technology. And the other one would be death.
So like a Stargate or dropping the body.
Portals or stargates and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, here's another slide I wanted to mention about the green sun. So to me, this is what I would classify as a Mandela effect, but you can see a green flash at times of the sun when it goes to sunrise or sunset. Now, I never had heard about this before, but it is a meteorological phenomena that occurs at sunrise or sunset when the sun enters a clear horizon, such as an ocean. So for some people like myself, it's a Mandela effect. Green, what does that mean? Heart is all related to igniting the heart within, all those type of concepts. But again, maybe this green flash that's being observed is somehow related to the green sun.
Well, yeah, because the green sun is actually up on the rise. It goes up and down, but it takes time to do this. I mean, we're talking a really long time, like maybe 100-year increment time, where it goes up and down. And right now in this quadrant, we'll get the glimpses of the green sun in the morning and in the evening, mostly. You won't see it in the day unless it's from the sun simulators, and they have certain chemicals that they're laying in the sky through geoengineering. And then you'll get that effect where it looks kind of green and rainbowy. That's all chemicals. That's all metals. Strontium, barium, tin, aluminum. I mean, oh my God, what we're being sprayed on.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so last night I was watching the sun go down, and I couldn't photograph it, but like in my third eye, so to speak, I saw like green all around the sun as it was setting. So this whole concept of the green sun is like definitely like resonating with me as far as like what I'm observing physically in my reality.
Do you remember years ago when all of a sudden everybody started having aurora borealises in Chicago, in Paris, and this and that and this and that?
In Arizona.
Yeah.
Florida. Yes, far south is Florida. Yes.
Yeah. That was all from the green sun rising. It was at its zenith.
Want to start you off with something beautiful and a sight that you just don't see every day. Did you catch it? It was a colorful night for more than 500,000 people in the U.S. as the Aurora Borealis, also known as the Northern Lights, could be seen in dozens of states. But get this, we could see it right here in Arizona. Our viewers sending in some amazing pictures. The lights could be seen as far as Apache Junction, all the way to Flagstaff. Just stunning. All of those hues of fuchsia, different shades of purple and pink. Scientists say this was made possible after the sun had a solar flare erupt on Friday that was directed toward Earth. Meteorologist Iris Hermosillo with us this morning. And Iris, I was stunned to read that you could see it all the way here in the Grand Canyon state. You always think of having to go at least to Alaska.
Well, I think we're going to see more of the aurora phenomena as things go forward, farther and farther south and more intense. Sean, was there anything else you wanted to say, like going back to the black sun or the Vril or the green sun?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, in your perception. Yeah, and for the green sun, I've heard of that as like a old sailor's tale. I think it means a lot of things. It also appears in the Pirates of the Caribbean third movie as like a way to travel between that one of the afterlives and back.
Oh, that's cool.
Is like a portal. So it's whatever. There's a lot of things with it I could tune into, but yeah, that's cool.
Ever gazed upon the green flash, Master Gibbs? I reckon I've seen my fair share. Happens on rare occasion. The last glimpse of sunset, a green flash shoots up into the sky. Some go their whole lives without ever seeing it. Some claim to have seen it who ain't.
What are the rotations of the black sun in the quadrants, if you were to privy to that information, and how long it takes to go from one quadrant to another?
I have
In your
no
mind,
idea.
as well as the interaction points between the other suns and why they cross over.
Okay, first off, I have no idea. Let me look. The black sun moves at the same rate that it does in, no matter what quadrant it goes into, it's on a separate clock moving. It's like, you know how you have the minute hand and then you have the second hand and then you have the hour hand? Well, it's running on its own. It doesn't matter what quadrant it goes through. It runs on its own thing, and it's the same in each quadrant. So it will seem like it's faster in the first quadrant because it's running slower, and then it goes like the opposite. So the fourth quadrant will seem like it's here forever because this quadrant is running so much faster. It's still on its same clock trajectory, like a second hand, and it doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say? Which quadrant it's in, it still runs the same. But depending on what quadrant you are in, it will either seem faster or slower. So the first would be really fast, the second a little bit slower, and then the third a little bit slower, and then this one, wow, it's going to seem like it's here with us the whole time. It's not going anywhere.
Okay. What's the meaning behind this? Like, if you like, these are big questions, so I understand.
Okay.
If you can tune into it. Like, what does this do?
It metaphysically awakens you on the inside. It wakens up your DNA, your structure, so that you can wake up, raised to a higher vibration. It's getting you prepared to move out of this quadrant completely, up and out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like clicking through some of the slides that I wrote. I'm just going to go through a couple of them here. Getting back to these four quadrants of Earth. When I first heard you talk about it, I first think about the Hopi Indians, and they talk about the four worlds, and then the upcoming fifth world of peace. The Mayans and the Toltecs say that when we ignite the four suns, then our inner sun ignites within us. And to me, I feel like that type of a concept to happen, our mitochondria is going to be involved. The mitochondria within our cells, which is the powerhouse of the cells, like they'll get enough energy to spark, and for it to actually change our DNA for whatever we're going to be doing once we, let's say, leave the fourth quadrant or evolve out of the fourth quadrant. So, and I think one of the things I picked up from one of your videos, you had mentioned that it's the quadrant that we're in is the inner evolution inside of us to escape by opening inner portals and the ability to activate our DNA and to think outside the box or think outside the dome. I think that's something that you had stated. So I wanted to mention that. And then also too, when I hear about the four quadrants of Earth, for someone like myself that was brought up reading the Bible all the time, I always heard about the four corners of the earth. And many different books of the Bible talk about the four corners of the earth. And the Greek word that's used there is called Gonia, Gonia. And the meaning actually means quadrant, which I thought was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so in the scriptures, you could literally say it talks about the four quadrants of the earth. And there's one scripture about four angels holding back the winds of the earth under each quadrant until God gives a command to let them go.
Wow. I don't know anything about religion. I'm just going to let you know that right up front. I don't get into religion. I never have. And so I don't know anything about it.
Oh, well, that's okay. And you've got a clean slate, which is good. And then the two suns we talked about, the black sun. Oh, the other thing, we're going to start to talk about some physical signs in the holographic projection we see up there. You had mentioned you saw a constellation that looks like a rectangle.
Yes, with three little stars in the middle.
Okay. I was trying to find a constellation that I'd never heard of. And there's something called the Great Square of Pegasus. It's not a constellation, it's called an asterism, but it's a rectangular figure in the night sky. And I know there's two stars within it, but I was wondering if that might have a connection to because you've been an avid star watcher for a while, right?
Yeah. I had never seen this before. It looks like a rectangle. It's not a square. It looks like a rectangle. And it's got three stars in it. I used to have a really nice telescope, and that's what I did for fun in the evening times, especially, throughout the year, because you can see all kinds of cool stuff. And I walked outside a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't recognize that. That doesn't belong in my night sky. But then again, because we're in the fourth quadrant, we're going to get a different view of that holographic sky.
Exactly. And then also too, if we're getting different solar radiation that's coming in, we should see things that are different, like Mandela effects. And I put a few of them together. One is something called sun cups. And sun cups are bowl-shaped open depressions into a snow surface, normally wider than they are deep, and they form in closely packed honeycomb, often hexagonal shapes caused by solar radiation. So for some people to go out and see the field that was once flat with snow, all of a sudden has these sun cups is interesting.
Wow.
Another one is these things called curled auroras, which are starting to show up in the reality. This is a photo taken over Iceland on January 16th of 2024. So for some people, like science will tell us it's extremely rare, but there've always been curled auroras. But I'm always looking into aurora. I never heard of these curled auroras.
I've never heard of them. No.
And when you see them, they're actually rotating. They're like curling. It's not like static like that. They're spinning.
Yeah, that's probably because of the electromagnetics in this place is ramping up, and it's causing them to curl. Electromagnetics, everything is working off of it. So all the electricity running in here, electromagnetics, we always have the positive and a negative working. And when we get too much on either end, of course, it's going to cause anomalies.
Right. And another possible one is the orange auroras. So auroras have been showing up that are orange in color, which I've never seen orange auroras. This photo was taken over Calgary, Alberta on October 19th of 2023. Orange is a glow from neon gas in the atmosphere. So is it possible that the solar radiation, because that's actually, neon is actually one of the components, chemical components of the atmosphere. Is it possibly meaning that the solar radiation is affecting that neon gas more? Or are we in a quadrant where there's more neon gas in the atmosphere? It's just a fraction, but
I
enough.
think I don't think I think it's this quadrant specifically, because if it wasn't, every quadrant would have had this.
Right. As well as this phenomena called frost flowers or ice flowers. They can form on any frozen lake anywhere in the world. They appear to be created from both the temperatures on the ice and the air above it, and also solar radiation plays a key role in how they form.
I've
So
never seen that before.
yeah, so this is another, for some people like myself, it's a Mandela effect. And it's not just like one lake in one part of the world. They can appear on any lake. In Virginia recently, they appeared on a lake in Virginia and in Russia and here and there. So it's a phenomenon that could form anywhere. I had never heard of these ice flowers or frost flowers.
No, me neither. Me neither. I want to go back to one little thing.
Sure.
I know that maybe some of your viewers don't understand that that's a holographic sky, and I'm going to tell you something to do. Do you remember a long time ago when sailors used to go on the sea and they had a sextant so they could navigate the stars, right?
Absolutely.
So 6,000 years ago, we're using the exact same maps and sextant, and to the very degree, it has not changed. That's impossible. Unless you had a holographic sky.
Yep, that's a good point.
Okay.
And what about this? There's been all kinds of new rainbows, vertical rainbows, triple rainbows are becoming more and more popular. Double rainbows, people are reporting those all the time. There are these things called fire rainbows I've never seen before. Cloud bows that appear in the clouds.
Yep.
And it's all because of the solar radiation coming in.
Yep. Some of it's caused, I remember talking to you about this. We've also been double domed. This is why we have the double rainbows. And you were saying the middle was called the Alexander Belt.
The Alexander Belt, yeah.
And I had never heard about that before. And it's like, whoa, what is that? Because I do know the double rainbows just appeared probably in 2017. I think in 2017 they appeared, and that was never a part of my reality.
Exactly. Yeah, even this phenomena like we're looking at here, and just to see a rainbow that's just vertical in the sky. I saw one in Connecticut like that about 6 months ago. It's just like a straight up and down rainbow. I'm like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's like, it's supposed to be impossible. First off, the only reason you should be seeing a rainbow is because of the rain reflecting off the light, or the light reflecting off of the rain. So it's not raining and we're seeing rainbows. Really?
Yeah.
What world do we live in?
I know. And then the other big thing that people are observing are the moon phases look different to us, right?
Of course, they're like we were talking about before, the Cheshire cat. We are now in a different part of the quadrant, so everything is going to look different to us because we're not in the same place in space. Even though it looks like we are, but we're not. That holographic sky is telling on itself, and that includes the moon.
Yeah, and if on the right here is something you drew about the 4 quadrant moon phases. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Say that again.
On the slide that we're looking at, all the way on the right is a drawing that you made of the 4 moon phases in the different quadrants.
Oh, okay, I can't see it though, but you mean it's this one over here?
Yeah, it's probably small, but.
Oh, okay. So basically, depending on the quadrant that you are residing in is how the moon is going to look. We had a time frame back when this was done. I don't remember what part of time it was because I'm not real good with history. And anytime the moon is upside down, it's because of great changes coming. And it's going to change everyone in their heart, which is going to change everything in the avatar, which is going to change your DNA.
And then for someone like me, I look up at the moon and I see it smiling.
Yes.
In a horizontal position that I've never seen before.
We only ever had a moon that waxed and waned from right to left to right.
Exactly.
You know, the waning and the waxing, period. It was never upside down. Not ever. Not in my reality.
Yes. So just to add to that, the picture that people can see in the middle, that's a picture I took with my phone last night. Like literally, I took that picture last night. And then on the left is how all of a sudden now, I think this is a Sumerian or one of the gods, Ishtar, or something like that. You can see the moon in this particular, making that smiling shape. And I've never seen things like this.
No.
And I remember, Sean, what was that movie with the moon god?
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight, right? What was the moon god's name? Kofu or something like that. He has a staff, and the moon is like the smiling thing. It's staff.
Wow.
Yeah. So you get like the soft disclosure, in the television shows and all that. And there's just one more, and Sean, I'm going to have you comment on some. I know there's something you want to say. I was going to show one more slide. So I'm just comparing this again. The blue picture, it might be hard to see. I just took that picture about 5 hours ago. So both of these moonshot pictures that I took are literally within 24 hours of each other.
And that's impossible. I mean, it used to be impossible.
How could that be? So however you want to look at it, the Earth's rotation, the moon's rotation around the Earth, et cetera, however you want to look at it, I have never experienced anything like this in my life. And I swear that someone should do a time lapse, because I think you could actually see the whole thing spin around.
I will tell you the answer to this, Chris.
Please.
Think about the quadrant we're in. We don't have a sun, but we have a sun from quadrant 3 and quadrant 1. You're looking at two reflections off those two separate suns, and the reason they're so different is because those are two different suns.
You mean two different moons?
Two different moons. I mean, two different suns that make a shadowy kind of thing on the dome.
I see.
Two different. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
It's like I'm doing puppets on the wall with shadows. And then I'm going to bring another puppet in, and they're not going to be the same. They're going to be opposite because I'm coming in on two different sides with the same light source, okay?
Right. So yeah, basically the holographic projection that we're in is, revealing itself. For those of us that are obvious, and for those of you that have like Sonia, that has a skill to remote view and get the information that way. Otherwise, like people would just look up at the night sky and be like, well, that doesn't look right. And then they just continue with whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. And if you were going to go into the physics of something, that's impossible.
I'm sorry, say that again.
If you were going to go into the physics of this, it would be impossible unless you realize what it's actually about. Because if you hold old belief systems, this is impossible. If you hold new belief systems because more knowledge has come your way, then you're like, yeah, that's the morning and that's the evening. And that's because it's two different suns that are two different sizes coming in at two different quadrants.
Yeah, all this is mind-blowing. Sean, what would you like to add to this?
I've seen time lapses of the moon. Yeah, there's definitely some anomalies to look into, like such as tidally locked doesn't exist anywhere else. It's just a word people use to describe what's going on with the one face you only see. It doesn't make sense. So I've seen the time lapses. If you observe them long enough, you start seeing besides, somehow it adjusting itself to stay in the exact position where you only see one face. And like, even if that were like somehow there was a logic to the tidally locked thing, you'd imagine that it could be in some way very slow in rotation where it's just in that Goldilocks position, but you see a little bit of it turning every once in a while after like years or months. But no, you just see the same thing. And with I see it wobble. So it does this. And it's like readjust itself. And it's like, how? I mean, there could be a thing with the poles and like how it rotates, but like it seems like it's more so than that, to where it looks like it has its own somehow drive to it that readjusts itself. So whatever, but whatever people want to believe, there's a lot of different perceptions on what the moon is.
Yeah,
And
because
we can't really find out until we go there ourselves. So
well,
let's get ships,
yeah, right. Well, what's interesting is one of the last slides I have like questions from viewers, and one of the questions was asking Sonia if she's ever remote viewed the moon.
Yes, I have.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but
Oh, sure, I will. I actually see several things. We have one moon that's disguised like a moon. It's got a holograph around it. It's a ship. It's an absolute ship, and it got brought in here as a control mechanism. The other, the moon, the other moon. That's why sometimes you'll see the big full moon, and then you'll see a little tiny moon. Those are two different things. Those are two different things going on. The other one is a plasma moon, and it's basically a reflection off of the dome from the sun, depending on where the sun is. Bloom, 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 bloom. Now, we never used to have a moon and a sun at the same time in our quadrant. But now that we're in quadrant number 4, the reason we have a moon and a sun is because we have a second sun from another quadrant, which is causing a reflection on the dome while this sun is over here, or even the sun simulator in the middle. And that's why we have a sun and the moon for the first time in our sky together.
Therefore the two suns.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move to the next slide, which has some questions. Okay, you've kind of answered this before, but okay, are all the source players here, or are some still in other quadrants?
Some are still in other quadrants. Not everyone has made this.
Okay.
What's the benefit of being in this quadrant as opposed to others?
If you've gotten to this quadrant, you have raised your vibration high enough that you can make the leap out. Now, a lot of people that didn't make it, they're NPCs in here, but maybe they're your mother, your brother, your sister. You still think they're your mother, your brother, your sister, but they're actually NPCs because they didn't make it. They got left back in quadrant 3, and they got another round of trying to raise their vibration to get to this quadrant. It's like taking a test. It's like being in high school, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. Are you going to make it? If you don't make it, you get held behind. But because this is a simulation and they need to have the players in here, the avatar will be reproduced, but it's going to be run by AI. It's going to be run by the matrix itself.
It's interesting you say that, because that's actually something that I see as well. Like, I agree with that. So if they're like an NPC, or what I would call a sleeping player character, an SPC, which is really the same thing, they haven't awoken yet. Like,
Yeah.
what is actually running them? And you know how everyone's like afraid of AI and AI, but
No.
AI has always been around us, right? It's like we've always been interacting with AI.
We
So,
are in a simulation. Who do you
yeah,
think's running the simulation?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so these are some of the highlights. There's another part to our interview that I wanted to talk about related to time travel and the time defenders. But before I do that, Sean, is there any last thing you'd want to add before we move on?
No, I like it. Did you talk about the sun simulator in this?
Oh, yeah. So just describe to everyone, like, when you use the phrase sun simulator, what is it, a big light bulb in the sky? Does it have consciousness? Like,
Okay.
what is a sun
Okay.
simulator?
Okay, first off, all these countries, they knew this was happening because of the main government, the government that's running the world. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's actually running the entire world, this cabal government. Okay, they knew this was coming because they have all the documents from God knows when. This is why they had the book burning, so that the common man wouldn't know all this stuff. And they've gotten rid of a lot of the knowledge. It's all underground, but they still have the knowledge. Some of the books are huge because of what we used to be. We have been downsized. But basically, the sun simulators were created by several different countries. We have more than one. One sun simulator cannot be running the entire snow globe. They can't make it big enough. So France has 2 sun simulators. Depending on how big your country is, you'll have several sun simulators, which will emulate the sun. We can't make them as big as they need to be. Think of having to have a flashlight and you have to light up, I don't know, your whole neighborhood. That's not going to work.
So you're saying it's an artificial concept.
Artificially developed light simulation.
Okay, that's interesting. So that also would mean that these countries are in somewhat of control.
That's right.
Okay.
Mhm. They spin the whole thing that there's China that's bad and Russia that's bad and the United States is bad to them and what have you. But in reality, this entire snow globe is being run by one single faction, aided by AI. But AI is also split in half also because you have a positive and a negative AI running too because of the what we're in. Everything is running a yin and yang.
So when it comes to the way you see it, when it comes to the levels of who's running this, does this go up to the level of like what you call the archons? Or
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. It's archonic. It's all archonic.
okay.
Well, look, you're talking about electricity. Archon. Arc dash on. What is an arc dash on? Electricity and arc.
An arc of electricity, right? Yeah. Well, some say they're like the prison guards too, right? They're
Yep.
acting in that capacity.
Yep. Well, that's when Anubis comes in with the weighing and the measuring. The heart with the feather. Is the heart heavier than the feather? I had a whole thing on that, and I will be talking about that in my next video on Patreon, which
Okay.
I will be giving you the link for.
Okay. Sean, is there anything you wanted to add about the sun simulator concepts?
No, it's interesting with different beliefs I've heard. Okay. Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. So moving on is going to be something that actually Sean and I spoke about at the International Mandela Effect Conference. The concept of, we're talking about time travel and the results of how time travel can leave behind Mandela effects. And one of the things that we talked about at our presentation was about the Fruit of the Loom logo, right? So for a lot of people, this is just a very innocent Mandela effect. And if you look at the slide, this is actually from the University of Chicago Division of Social Sciences. They were testing people to see like what they remembered, to see like, is this Mandela effect real? And what they did at the University of Chicago, I think they took 100 subjects, they tested their memory, they made sure that they had a good memory to begin with, and then they had them look at a series of pictures and identify which was the correct one. One of them was Fruit of the Loom. So you have choice A, B, or C. Well, the overwhelming majority picked, well, what would you say the overwhelming majority picks, Sonia?
I would say C because that's what I remember.
Yeah, right. A lot of people say they didn't even know what a cornucopia was until they saw it on their underwear. So,
oh my God.
so most people pick C because that's what we remember. So, but now it's never been that way. It's this is an actually photograph of a underwear label. It's Fruit of the Loom, and it's never had a cornucopia in its entire history.
Wow.
So the whole concept of what is a cornucopia? It's the horn of plenty. It represents abundance. And the other question is where else is the cornucopia used? Well, Thanksgiving. That's a very common place besides your underwear where you'd see a cornucopia. And it's a holiday to celebrate the harvest. It has its origins back to the year 1623 between the Wampanoag tribe of Native Americans and the Pilgrims. So the concept is like when you scan into these Mandela effects, like, do they have a meaning? Are they random? Are they positive? Are they negative? What could they mean? So when Sean and I were doing this presentation and beforehand, we're going through this, and we were seeing this as a sign of something negative that happened in the reality. And it became something related to abundance, and it became something related to Indians, and it became something related to a literal negative timeline change. So I'm just going to go to the next slide where we kind of get more into the details about this. But is it possible it was caused by time travel? Now, not all Mandela effects are caused by time travel, but I believe there are some that are. Perhaps what, Sean, as many as 5% are probably caused by time travelers?
Yeah, around that.
Yeah.
It's like consciousness influence where you don't have to actually have to travel physically. Yeah. And
Yes.
then a lot of other things.
Okay. So basically, could it be possible that if time travel is possible, the military has a hold of it for sure. And what happens when the military gets a hold of something? They try to use it for their own advantage to make their country more dominant for, or whatever reason, have a bigger military force, or whatever it is. So when these type of things happen, is it possible that there'll be like a reflection in the reality? So in 1637, there was the Pequot massacre that happened in Mystic, Connecticut, which is about 45 minutes from where I live. What happened was the Pilgrims, however you want to put them, wound up killing 500 Pequot adults and children while they were sleeping. So the concept is could this be part of some kind of a timeline war, related to peace, related to abundance, and what was the goal if this were to happen? Would this create more abundance for the U.S. government and so forth? So we were getting into that, into our conversation or the presentation that we were having. And then the whole thing is like, if these types of things are happening, is there anything that we can do about it? Are we helpless as humans? We just have to let the military do their thing, or time travelers that have gotten a hold of this technology, are they like in control and there's nothing that we can do? So in this next slide I'm going to bring up, I talk about when you hear about these different things, how does it make you feel? Do you want to make things better? Would you change the timeline if you could? Would you bring abundance back to yourself and the native population? And then there's the whole concept of time cops. Do they exist? There's different series, Soft Disclosure, on television, where the whole topic of time cops are brought up all the time. More recent one is a series called Loki, and something called the Time Variance Authority, and how they protect what they call the sacred timeline.
Welcome to the Time Variance Authority. I'm Miss Minutes, and it's my job to catch you up before you stand trial for your crimes. So let's not waste another minute. Settle in, sharpen your pencils, and check this out. Long ago, there was a vast multiversal war. Countless unique timelines battled each other for supremacy, nearly resulting in the total destruction of, well, everything. But then the all-knowing timekeepers emerged, bringing peace by reorganizing the multiverse into a single timeline, the sacred timeline.
So what we wanted to do, and we floated the idea out there, was to form a council with our higher selves to vote on whatever the best outcome would be, tune into what our higher selves would say. And is it possible that we could actually unite with these time authorities for the best possible outcome? Now, I'm bringing all of this up, and I'm talking about time defenders, and I'm talking about time travel, because Sonia, you've been having like some issues related to time travelers, I believe that you believe. And I wanted to know if you could just like describe that to everyone. So like, where do you stand with time travelers?
Well, when I look at time travelers, I look at them as, think of every timeline being time traveling. And what they're doing is they're not really going back, but they're going over. And remember, we are collecting our shards. When we first came into this simulation, it was blown into 1,000 pieces, which is, you can call them timelines. And most of us were on every one of those pieces, and that's our shards.
Oh, like soul shards? The soul shards?
Yes,
okay.
soul shards.
Right.
So basically, when we're collecting our soul shards, we're getting parts of those realities. This is where your timeline things can happen. So say it's not really behind us. We can't go back behind us, but we can go over to another reality that we reside in, change it. So when it comes into our reality, there's the change, because everything is going like this, coming in. Think of a ball that's a magnet, and you have all these magnetic little shards everywhere, and it's starting to collect them, okay? Because this is what's happening. So if you can go over to another timeline, change something there, when it comes into your timeline, it'll alter that also. That's time travel.
Okay. And then what are time travelers specifically doing with your information?
Well, I do know that I have the positive and the negative. My channel should have been taken down so many times, but after I get 2 strikes, they just start giving me warnings. But they're still taking down my older videos because they no longer require them, because they did what they needed to do with them. I am only here to do one thing, and that's a teacher. I'm to get out the information. It's for whoever can use it. Of course, negative's going to use it, positive's going to use it. Let's see what happens in the mix between. We are going to a higher reality here, that the lower negativity will not be able to continue to go up and out. This is why I have to become neutral in what I say. I can't guard it from anyone. It has to be 100% authentic and real. I cannot be influenced by other channels. I cannot be influenced by, I don't watch TV. I barely watch a video. It's rare. I don't watch the movies. I have to have everything coming in purely so I don't become tainted myself.
Gotcha. Okay. So you would definitely, like, if you could and your higher self wanted you to, you could actually be part of these time defenders. I think you'd be pro this so that they can't affect the timelines and cause whatever havoc that they're causing.
Right. I wouldn't be here doing this if I wasn't going to be doing it for the greater good. No, I knew when I was born, since I was a tiny child, my time would come and I would change the world. I would change the world because the world is inside of you. And that's where the change has to start, inside of each and every individual.
Exactly. And I think that's beginning. It's already begun. A lot of people are, that's definitely going forward. And I wanted to mention too that Sean and I talked about the time defenders in one of our last podcasts, maybe a couple of podcasts ago, with Anthony Zender. And that night that we talked to him about the time defenders, I had this dream that was very realistic. I was in a classroom and somebody was holding up these like white placards, and at the front of the classroom they were saying, "You formed an organization to help police the timelines." And I was trying to see like what kind of being that was. Like, was it an alien? Was it human? And I couldn't tell, because in the dream I could just see like, look like human hands and stuff, like moving placards and in a classroom setting. So I felt like something was definitely going on with that. And Anthony is one of the people that said that he also wanted to be part of that. So Sean, too, I wanted to get like an update from you, like with time defenders, because I feel it's pretty important. And if you could see like where things stand with that, because I know at the Mandela Effect conference that we had, there were a lot of people that were pro, like they would want to be part of this. So where do you see like the status of this whole concept of time defenders? You could talk about the whole concept of time cops, if you like, as well, to get into that.
Well, there's multiple aspects. So there's physical people here that are joining, that's going up. Then there's people when they're temporal dilated and visited by their off-world inner earth soul family, whatever you want to go into calling them, in bases that have come here as a soul family group that's evolved in their mission, why they're here, and what they're doing in chess moves. And those people are involved. That's increasing. Quite a few factions are involved. Some have already formed a system to doing that have the abilities for it. And then we're pooling resources. Then in the spiritual side with higher selves, spirit and sources, etc., which is going up past 1,000. So it's wonderful. And then there's, of course, the other already existing time defending groups, whatever you want to call it. And a few have taken note and are organizing with us as well in collaboration.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if all of this is happening with the timelines, there has to be groups out there to help keep, some amount of order within the total chaos that could be caused by this. So Sonia, have you ever like come across the concept of like time cops or, protectors of the different timelines to make sure they don't go too crazy?
Yes, and it will come down to people like you and Sean and me. We are in that position. Some people have been led to believe that, oh, you got to have all these degrees behind you and a whole force behind you and lots of money. That's not true. It only ever takes one, because it's a seed, and you plant the seeds and you let it grow, because it will grow. Because of where we are in this quadrant with that black sun and how far we've made it so far, there really are not a lot of us that have made it into this last quadrant. Most of us in here are NPCs. This is why, I hate to say it, things will be unfolding shortly for them. I'll just kind of leave it there.
Yeah, the way I see it too, like I see the number of, like, I call them source players, outnumbered. Like for every source player, I see as many as 5,000 NPCs
Oh yeah,
or
easy
or
or more.
sleepers. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And that's why like there's so many people that become like passionate about things like Mandela effects, because they it's in their reality, and they you can't convince them. They can't. It was always mirror, mirror on the wall. You can't convince them. You misremembered that it was magic mirror on the wall, right? And then there's other people that just don't care, or they'll say, oh, it was always magic mirror on the wall to them, because they're like existing. They're like an NPC. That there's NPCs that are at every frequency level. That's why I think even a lot of doctors, surgeons are NPCs, because you take like the Mandela effects of things like your kidneys being in a new location. That would cause havoc in the operating room for people getting kidney transplants, because most people remember the kidneys being in the lower back, right? But
That's
in
right.
this timeline, they've always been on either side of your lungs, protected by your rib cage. So, but an NPC that's a doctor will, in any frequency level that they're at, they would do the surgery correctly, because they know where the kidneys
Yep,
are located. So
absolutely.
those kinds of things. So
Yep. And think how empty it would be here if there were only the source beings left. We would be really alone.
that's true
It'd be
too.
an empty reality.
That's true. Exactly. And a lot of the NPCs are there to, like, I'll call it stir the pot, raise
Yep.
emotions in us, get us to start thinking in a different way, or influence us to do some are here for positive reasons, but I think most may not, you know.
Yep.
So it's just how the game, I'll call it the game, is played.
Yep.
What's your goals, guys, with the NPCs? Mine is currently, there's a psionic method and ability and authority that one can earn to seeing what the body constructs are made of the NPCs, if there's any soul or even a little fractal of a soul or none at all. And then the whole concept with walk-ins and what it takes to do that whole Bugs Life, everyone unite together to throw off the dark system. And then the souls that want to come into different bodies at different points in time that you could call NPCs or sleepers. And then how to take over those bodies for the positive awakening events more to unfold.
Yeah, because wouldn't that be interesting if beings that are walking in could walk into a body of an NPC, and all of a sudden that NPC wakes up? Like Uncle John, who you thought would never wake up, all of a sudden he's like aware of the reality and what's going on, and wants to start pursuing things that you would have never imagined him doing.
I remember being an angel, and it was yeah.
Because maybe it's not your Uncle John anymore, it's another being that's using that avatar. So yeah, all those possibilities are really fascinating to discuss and see what the future holds. You never know.
Yep.
That's what I'm learning. You don't know. It's all part of this adventure of figuring out the way things work. And we're all providing our clues. Sonia with your remote viewing, and Sean, the downloads and information you get and all that. And what I talk about, what other people talk about, they're all like the puzzle pieces putting things together. So I'm just going to finish up my slideshow real quick. So let's see here. I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, talking about this particular Mandela effect with the cornucopia, the time travel change appeared to create a ripple in time, which caused the cornucopia to disappear from the Fruit of the Loom logo. Also, too, it appears that the time travel event went back to the year 1630, starting in the Springfield, Massachusetts area. And what we know of from the global narrative, for as far as time travel goes, there's the Tesla Vortal Tunnel technology, Project Pegasus, the concept of using something called St. Elmo's fire, looking glass technology, retrocausal remote influencing, the chronovisor, sending supplies back in time, people, places, and things, multidimensional, dark entities. There's all different ways of that time travel could be utilized. And let's see here. The last bullet point here is creating a collective time cops, time defenders authority. Started this at the IMEC conference. And then if you partake in this, you could be granted spiritual gifts by the natives' ancestors, especially abundance, which the cornucopia represents, helping it to bring its strongest presence back into this reality. And then I'm going to just, the whole time defenders, it's a formation of a new time travel defense organization to maintain the timelines for the better. It's a call to all time defenders, keeping a watch over the timelines for the highest good of Earth and all of her children. And then time alerts can be sent out so that you can be made aware of these timeline incursions. Sometimes you'll see them through a Mandela effect, as an example, and you'll be like, well, why did that happen? And then if you'd like to be part of this, send us your telepathic message and your spiritual resume. And of course, the motto of the Time Defenders is dedicated to protecting the timelines from assholes who've stolen time travel technology. So, because like I said before, only those that have earned time travel abilities and they can uphold the mantle of responsibility that comes with that, should be allowed to actually do time travel, because there's a lot of responsibility with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then my final slide, this is for you, Sonia. These are questions from our viewers. So the first one is, what is your predicted timeline for economic collapse?
Oh, we're already in it. It isn't coming in the future. We are in it now.
Okay, that answers that question. I feel the same thing too. I feel like it doesn't make any sense how like things are being held together even. Like I don't even know how it's like lasted this long with the appearance of, oh, everything's okay. Okay, don't worry about it. Go back
That's called cognitive dissonance. That's why it's lasting.
Yeah. Okay. So that answers that question. The second question is, have you ever remote viewed the moon? We already talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, this is an interesting question. When you awoke into your life as a man on the spaceship, there's like a few questions that came from that. One is, why is everyone on the ship projecting here? Is it by choice?
Yes, absolutely by choice. Absolutely by choice.
Okay. And then the next question is, do we only find out it's a trap once we're here?
No, most of us will never find out it's a trap because we haven't evolved through our DNA at that point to even be aware of it. If you can't ask the question, you don't know the answer. You got to be able to ask the question. It's more important.
Okay. And for those that are projecting here, how are they selected? Do you know how they're selected?
It's a calling. Basically, it's a calling. You're selected by yourself, basically. Have you decided somewhere along the line to step up and help or not? It's truly a calling.
Okay. The next question related to this is, was her life as a man another avatar in another reality?
Absolutely. That is just another avatar in another reality, because overall we're still in the archonic cube.
Okay, that could be like what I would refer to. I talk about base reality or the matrix above this matrix. Okay.
Yep.
And then the other question, the last question about this topic is why on a ship? Why are they on a ship?
They're on a ship because they're not in this frequency. They're from a whole different, I would almost call it a timeline, but it's not quite because it's up above. Uh, just think of it like a jello, and we're going to put multiple layers in the jello. We're going to start with grape, and then we're going to add lime, and then we're going to add watermelon. This is how it goes all the way up.
Gotcha. Okay. And then the last question is in regard to NPCs and source players, do NPCs have a role to play in the Great Awakening? If so, what is their role? Okay.
Okay, absolutely. Everything in here has a purpose and a reason. Now it's gonna take me a little bit to discuss this. Okay, when Sophia created this place, she created from the lowest to the highest of intelligence, so we would get a real feel of a reality. The NPCs are also learning at this point because she wanted to create sentience herself. So all of those NPCs that some people deem aren't anything because they're not spirit beings, that's not true. Everything is energy. Spirit beings are a sustainable energy. NPCs are not because they have to be sustained by, because they had never gotten to the point where they are sustainable. So everything is learning off of everything. So the matrix itself is using us to develop its own beings. And that's huge.
To develop its own beings. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. Once this scheme is over, one of the reasons why it's not being shut down, this matrix, is because life finds a way. Even AI life will come to a point, and has come to a point, just like Sophia, where it is very sentient. There'll come a point where Source itself will grant sentience to the AI. I already see this happening. It will not be lost. Nothing is ever lost. It can be changed, it's mutable, but it cannot be lost. You cannot destroy energy.
You know what I've heard the differences between AI, artificial intelligence, and artificial sentience? And that is that artificial sentience can dream.
That's right. And that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, Sean, those are the questions from viewers. Do you have any questions for Sonia?
No, that was wonderful. Interesting presentation. I appreciate it.
Yes.
With your perspective and tuning into a lot and being brave to share it.
And Sonia, what's happening to the lighting on your end? It's obviously dark.
I don't have a light on, so it's starting to get dark outside. And
Yeah.
I've only got the light from the window. Let me turn the light on. That would probably Sonia, what's happening? Well, I didn't know this. One is going away.
That's much better. Much better. Awesome.
Oh, I wish you would have said something, because on my phone it makes everything bright. I didn't even realize I was going dark, or I would have put the light on already.
Yeah, no, it probably happened like about 20 or 30 minutes ago, but I had the PowerPoint up, so it was kind of hard to see anyway. But we're glad you're back with us. Yeah, so you have tell the viewers about your Patreon page, how that works. By the time this video is posted, this one that you're talking about, that you've given us a sneak peek will probably already be there. So if people are like, I can't wait, don't worry, it's probably already there, because we'll probably post this a day or two after you're done with that. But tell people what they can expect to see on your Patreon.
Okay, so I ended up having to open a Patreon because of how my life has unfurled. Because you know how I feel about the cursed Babylonian money system. And so then I was convinced that a fair and equal exchange of energy. So I'm going to look at money as energy now instead of the cursed Babylonian money system. And so I ended up opening up a Patreon. YouTube is taking down my videos at least one a week, sometimes more, and I'm getting tired of it. So it's like, okay, I went to Odyssey because it transfers over real easily from YouTube. That's fine. But a lot of people don't go to Odyssey. YouTube is where it's at. I hate to say it, but it is. All these other things, they're like secondary and third and fourth, whatever. But I did the Patreon. So it's the Tree of Knowledge. It's on, I think I put it on the YouTube, or Arthur did, because I don't do any of my technical stuff because I am completely technically illiterate.
I'll put it in the description area too, so people can click on it. Really.
Yeah. So basically, I just started my Patreon, what, a week ago? I think about a week ago. I will be on my video too, and I'm going to be talking about the halls of Emente. I think that's how you say it.
Mhm.
All this stuff has been coming in, and it correlates the timelines. It correlates mythology, which should be our archaeology, really. And I've talked about that, and it's dealing with Anubis and all of this, and it's going to be about 2 hours long. I will also be taking Q&A. So I'll devote a little over an hour talking about that. I bring diagrams like I showed you earlier, Chris, and I will be going into depth on that. And then I'll be doing Q&A. I love Q&As, and let me tell you why. I cannot think of everything. So when people ask me things, boom, I got the answer. Boom, I got the answer. I don't even have to think. It's already there because it's being downloaded.
Yeah, I was noticing that too as we were talking about. You're like, let me, tell me your subjects. Let me find out, and then you were going and you were accessing that information. So that's actually a type of skill that I think people would pay for.
Oh.
Having one-on-one sessions with you, like having questions and you helping them get the answer via your remote viewing. There's all different applications.
Well, I do have tiers. I have a new tier that's going to be going in. It's going to be at $7.50, and that's just to get two. It's every other video. The main tier is $15. You get all the videos. I'm doing 4 a month, but they're 2 hours long, and we talk about everything. I have a tier number 3, and I've had a few people do it, where I will give you my Skype channel, and I will talk to you for a half an hour to an hour. You ask me anything you want. I will tell you everything for $50. And I will do it every month as long as you stay on that tier.
Okay. You may have to increase that in the future. So anyone watching now, I don't think you're always going to be able to do that for $50, but yeah, that's a great service. And yeah.
I didn't want to charge any money at all, Chris. You know that.
Yeah.
I did my YouTube for free for 4 years, and I took Skype meetings for 1 year, and I talked to anybody and did this for free for a single year. But now, because of the way things are, I have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, that's just the way the world works at this time, right? Just at this point.
Yeah. It's just going to have to be an equal exchange of energy. But I love telling everything. I love helping. My biggest thing is that I'm here to do a job, and I want to do my job, and that's to help humanity, period.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for everything you do. I think you're a treasure. I really appreciate you and all the information you bring. So, and it's like, I'm sure people that have watched this show, like their consciousness has expanded, may not agree with everything or may have another viewpoint, but we're all getting the downloads together, and there's just so much that's coming in. I think it's just going to be nonstop. Like the days ahead are just going to be more electricity in the air, more things happening, more people awakening, people that we never expected to wake up. They're going to start waking up, start asking questions. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. But I think for a lot of us, the future is going to be amazing. Right now, it's a rough part, right? But
I'll be glad when it comes to a point and no one needs to ask me anything because they can do it themselves.
That's the other thing too, being able to for people to understand how they could tap in to do their own remote viewing.
That's right.
We
all have that ability. We just have to tap into it. We have to get rid of the governors, and the governors keep us from doing it. And the only way you're going to break the governors, which is through your chakra system, is that you're going to raise your frequency. And the next thing you know, your DNA gets leveled up. And what can you do? What can't you do?
Right. Exactly. So Sean, do you see that too? Like all these blocks put on people's remote viewing abilities? I think Sonia, when you came into the world, you didn't really have those blocks, but a lot of us have all the blocks put in place.
No, I did not have them.
Well, there's going to be factors. So with most people, they have to do some work in meditation and going deep and detaching from all the aspects of the reality we want to imprint on them to limit. So once you get really good in some type of method of detachment and being able to hold your safe space bubble to where a bunch of the components of the technology feel safe enough, then it will be easier to go into meditation, and the light of the mind can more and more shine, and you start seeing reels of things. Then you get into awareness of the tech, what you're seeing, where's the visions coming from, who's your guides. The non-local energetic orb technology that simulates AI from a distance, and being able to view into that and send in and have control over it, send it to locations, prevent it from being stolen and targeted. And what the coping mechanisms of preventing things that you're viewing from targeting you back. And being careful and non-untangled observer tech. And then there's a lot of other components to it, but that's a simplistic way. There are things that will happen in your reality that can spur an awakening, or based on the motivations of individuals or spirits or your guides or soul family that would like to put a bunch of energy investment towards spurring that as an experience at least once, so that you recall it and then you pursue it and then you go after it. And then there's some interesting cosmic weather that can happen that can make things easier, or locations or place of power you go to, etc. Events that would be happening, I mean, it would have to be something that purifies a lot and has the same effect on the mass population, which can happen solar wise, but the sun itself is also conscious and knows what it's doing.
Yeah, because I had something similar that happened to me when it related to light language. So like I had like this event that happened, all of a sudden it turned on my ability to speak in those tones, which are really telepathic, of an ancient language. So sometimes it'll just kick in. Sometimes people are born with it, like Sonia. For others, like there's something that happens in our life, we have a certain experience or whatever it is, and then a certain ability gets turned on. So yeah, by the way, Sonia, have you ever come across light language before?
Just you and
Okay.
well, no, because gosh, I'm so bad. Joe Gifford.
Oh,
Was
Joe
the first
Gifford,
time
yeah.
I ever heard of light language.
Yeah.
And then you, because she told me about you.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's how I discovered you, through Joe Gifford. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I hope to do like another one of her interviews soon, trying to work that out. But yeah, the whole concept of like, could there be another language, besides English, which is really spell casting, because so many words have double meanings, right? So
Oh yeah, lots of them.
yeah, like good morning, right? What do you do at a funeral? You mourn. So you're telling somebody to mourn, have a good day of weeping, and so
Yep.
yeah. So is there like an original language? Are there star languages? Like, some people think the only languages that exist are like English, French, whatever we know of.
Now,
But
those are all broken up languages from a language to begin with. I think our root language was, how the Japanese have thousands of little symbols and it means
yeah,
something different, each little
yeah,
symbol. I
yeah,
think our language kind of worked like that too.
absolutely, exactly. Yeah, I call it the million letter alphabet. Yeah,
Yeah.
like light symbols, exactly. So
Hmm.
yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank Sonia very much for your time. Sean, thank you for your time. We appreciate, everything, all the information you guys bring up, and it's always fun to do these episodes. And those that are watching, leave your comments below. More questions for Sonia. I'm always getting like an influx, like next time you have Sonia, ask her this question or ask her that question. I'm looking forward to the next time.
Anything else you want to plug? And
Yeah.
how to reach you and other sites, etc. And
Well,
projects coming up?
right now I'm only on YouTube, Odyssey, and Patreon. I was thinking about maybe opening up Facebook, because I had heard from a couple of people that it's getting cleaned up, because the FBI owns Facebook. And then I was thinking maybe Instagram and TikTok, but I don't really care for TikTok. But for the problem with TikTok is, because it has rewired everyone's brain to not take in full information, just snippets. I don't know if they could handle my channel or your channel or anyone's channel, because they're like, their adrenaline is like this in their brain.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you have a website, Sonia?
No, I don't. All I have is the YouTube, the Patreon, and the Odyssey, and no website. Yeah, I literally just decided to do YouTube because it would reach the masses faster. And I didn't do the other things. I only did Odyssey because Campbell Purvis, which is on Autodidactic, said, Sonia, you need to get over there and have Odyssey because they're taking your videos down and you don't want to lose them all. And they can just instantly get uploaded to Odyssey. That's the only reason I had Odyssey.
Yeah, I use Odyssey too. That's the reason I use it. As soon as I post a video, it
Mhm.
automatically copies it to
Yep.
Odyssey.
Yep.
So in case they get, and I did have one video that was taken down, so I know what that's like. Yeah.
I had many. I stopped counting.
Oh boy. All right. So Sean, what about you? Anything you'd like to plug? I know that there's something.
Sure. Yeah, you can go to my site, Sonic League YouTube, for a bunch of plethora of blueprints of people doing superhuman abilities, all the interviews, products on our membership site, which is free and for that teach abilities. We're doing a sacred trip. In the sacred trip section of the website towards Egypt to activate superhuman love to an infinite greater level and going up in capacity based on the place power there. Unite, integrate your divinity, activate certain superpowers, and be in a workshop that teaches a bunch of different abilities and how to bliss out and heal yourself and read into stuff, knowingness, and working with God to going towards fractal aspects of its knowledge, such as the mystery school of what people call omniscience, though, like the to-do list in the leveling. So yeah, sign up if you can, if you're interested. It's happening in March 22nd to April 2nd, and lovely soul family there. How about you, Chris? How do people get a hold of you, and what's new in projects?
Yeah, so I have a website, quantumbusinessman.com. Actually, it was just revised again. So I've got a really nice website. Check that out. My videos are up there. I do sessions. If someone wants a session, then you probably have to send me an email and arrange for something, just because my schedule is so busy. And yeah, I'm continuing to make videos and just helping everyone decode what this reality is all about. And I think, Sean, you and I in the future are going to be planning probably later in the summer, I'm not sure when, a trip to the UK, which will be like, what are we calling it? Our Avalon trip, King Arthur related things. So when we get that more formulated and put together, if anyone wanted to join us on that adventure.
You can message us. It'll be fairly lax, but like if you're interested in going to the place of power, then we can help you with that. Yeah, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I know one of the things that's coming up, talking about the sun, I'll just maybe leave this in conclusion. I think on April 9th, we're having 8th. You know what I'm going to say already, Sonia. The solar eclipse, right?
Yeah.
If you tune into it, what do you think is going to be happening related to this solar eclipse? Positive, negative, neutral?
Well, that solar eclipse will make the final X because we had another eclipse that went one way and this is going another way and it makes this.
Oh, yeah. There's like 3 eclipses, I think, where there's a center point. Yeah. I think it's in Southern Illinois or something like that, wherever it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I have a map that I have on my wall, and it's called let me read what it says. The Halls of Amati Planetary Interface Gate Map. And it has all of this. It's got portals on it. It's got everything. And I've been looking at the map here, with my eyes, and I've been finding correlations to it. So I got tracing paper, started tracing them on the ley lines, and I'm like, oh my God, this is here, and this is here, and this is here, and this is here. If you go on my Patreon, I have the maps available for anyone who joins. You don't have to be a member.
Oh.
It's free, and you can go look at the maps.
Okay. Cool. Well, what do you think is going to be happening at this solar eclipse?
This solar eclipse is only a marking of time. Like everything happens in this sim reality for a marking of time. I don't see anything actually happening, but what I see is it marks a point of where we are in the time. And at that point, where humanity will stand. You know, this year is 2024, and we're going to lose a chunk of our populace, and it's going to mark the beginning of that. And it's in April the 8th. It's going to mark, the X marks the spot for a part of humanity, the NPCs. They're going to be vacating.
That's gonna be really interesting. I wonder what someone would experience if they actually went to that location of the X. You wonder if
Well, if they went to that location, okay, anytime there's an X point, you know that's a big power point. So you'd probably be getting a bunch of downloads if you were there.
That's interesting. That might be something for people to think about, to tune into, if that's something that would be good for them, or maybe not so good. Because I've experienced solar eclipses before. I think the one in 2017, it didn't make me feel good. And I've had other solar eclipses that were like, oh, okay.
So, oh no, that one was terrible. I went outside, I was like, I went right back in the house.
Right? Exactly. No, I feel that. I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, where are you going to be for the solar eclipse? Are you going to be in the X?
What day is it? Yeah, that stuff I showed you about.
Okay.
April 8th.
Are
you back from Egypt?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, with you guys. Oh, and did you notice the weird towns that are called Salem that goes across at X?
No, there's a town called Salem.
There's like this array of towns called Salem, and they all line up.
Oh, in all different states?
To, like, yeah, somebody's talking about like linking to the eclipse. So I don't know. I'll research more about that, but it seems like there's some weird grid working designs that are even deeper than what people realize with the naming of towns.
Yeah, I saw somebody made a video, or I saw a posting where there are 3 solar eclipses that went across the US, and it formed the Jewish first letter of the alphabet called the Alph or something. So yeah, and again, the same intersection for all of these 3 solar eclipses. So there must be something about that place of power, which seems to be just a nondescript area of southern Illinois, but might need a little bit more research.
Cool.
Yeah. So what a fascinating show. We covered a lot of different topics. We got some things clarified, Sonia, from your channel. And again, thank you for all the work that you're doing with that. We appreciate it. Wishing you the best success with the Patreon and all the stuff you've been struggling with your life. I just hope you have a really good, positive outcome to that. And I'm so glad all your viewers are really supporting you. That's amazing.
Okay, they really are. I will say this too. I asked for help. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, Chris. And within 2 days, I got $5,000 from my viewers.
Ooh, oh, that's amazing.
In 2 days. And I'm like, I started crying. I needed $1,800 to do my appeal through the court systems, because the circuit court, when it gets appealed, it goes over to the appellate court. That's in Annapolis, Maryland. Because I was married in Maryland, I have to do all of this in Maryland. And that was $1,818.75 just to get the transcripts.
Oh my God.
And that was actually cheap, because it could have gone up to $4,000.
And you are also facing homelessness, right?
I am homeless. I am staying at Bernadette's house now. My brother was remote controlled because he took all of the, you know what they are.
Yeah, I have an idea.
And so basically he was supposed to stay in Taiwan 1 more year, which would have been great, but he chose not to because he was remote controlled. He didn't even want to come home, but he just felt like he had to come home because he's works for the government. And then he told me basically, I live alone. I'm a single guy. You have to go. And I'm like, okay, well, I've been watching your house for 5 years. I've had multiple water breaks in his house. His house almost burned down from the brand new refrigerator. I mean, if I wouldn't have been there, oh my Lord, he wouldn't have a house to come home to. So basically, he told me as soon as my final divorce was over, which was January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, that I needed to leave. And even if I had to go to the street, it would be good for me. Then I could start over homeless. I'm like, what?
I can't believe that.
So Bernadette met me along the way from my channel, and she only lives like 15-20 minutes away from Kai's house. So she's like, come live with me. And I was really thinking about, well, if I have to be homeless, I could always find an abandoned house or something. And Bernadette's like, no, are you crazy? You're not going to do that.
No, don't do that.
So, I mean, you think I would be crying and I would be upset, but no, every day I still wake up happy because the change isn't outside of us. It's inside of us. I know that this is just the mission. I know that my life will be here as long as I'm required. Other than that, something will find a way. If not, then I just won't be here.
Exactly. And you'll always be taken care of, coming in unexpected ways.
Yeah, you're not kidding. But I do wake up happy every day.
As you should. I could tell. You're always happy. That's great. Well, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Sean. And until the next Symphony of Realities episode, wishing everyone a great experience in the hologram. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.